What if somebody walked up to you right now and said, guess what? I got good news for you. Your marriage has already been arranged. You don't get to pick. You don't get to date around. You don't get to see if chemistry's there. Your family already had the meeting, had the negotiations, and apparently everybody agreed except you. Would your first response be absolutely not, or would you actually consider it? Let me know in the comments, because I ran across this clip and this young lady, she wasn't a happy camper.
Aww. God damn!
Look, I'm not gonna pretend that the internet didn't just see what the internet saw. The comment section went crazy. People were talking about his looks, the size of his head, whether she was attracted to him, whether she looked trapped, whether she was just nervous, whether people were being cruel, all of it. And to be fair, we don't know exactly what she was thinking. She could have been nervous. She could have been uncomfortable. She could have very well been overwhelmed. Or she could have been looking at that man like, this is really my life now. But the reason this clip went viral is because everybody felt the same tension. She looked unhappy and he looked like he was winning. And the internet saw that moment and said, something about this doesn't look right. But let's get to it. Cue the clip.
This that Raymundo Reacts, huh? Y'all came in for the laughs, huh? You did. Stayed for the commentary cause it makes sense, huh? Real talk.
That boy is good.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Hey, mama, game over. Mwenye uwanja wake kaingia sasa. Yeye mchai kai. Mama soko huko na wao wao.
I'm heard, the first thing I'm thinking about is, do y'all even love me? Why are y'all clapping? Can't y'all see that she's visibly upset? For what? A tradition? You know what? No lie at all. F that tradition. If that means I gotta sacrifice y'all and y'all choose to disown me, then we'll go our separate ways. But I digress, because that isn't a look that someone should have on their wedding day. Now let's be honest, he looks like he just won the lottery. And I know looks aren't everything. I know somebody's gonna say in the comments, Ray, beauty's on the inside. Okay, cool. But let's not lie to ourselves. In a romantic relationship, you need some form of attraction. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be shallow. And it doesn't have to be Instagram model attraction. But you need something. You need some type of chemistry. You need comfort. You need a reason to look at the person and say, okay, I could see myself building something with them. Because if there's no attraction, no choice, no connection, and no excitement, then what are we really talking about? At that point, it starts to feel less like a marriage and more like a family transaction. And I know his dad was somewhat like, son, don't worry, I got you. Now, I don't know how many cows, how many goats, how many bank transfers, or family favors that were in these negotiations, but I'm thinking it had to be a max contract. Because from the outside looking in, that man looked like the franchise player and she looked like she wanted to request a trade. But jokes aside, this is where it gets serious. Because when people talk about arranged marriages, there's a big difference between arranged and forced. If the family introduces two people, both people have a choice. Both people can say yes or no, and nobody's pressured. That's one conversation. But on the flip side, if the family decides, the community pressures you, Money is involved, shame is involved, and saying no can cost you your safety, your family, your future. That's not romance. That's control.
Western people, they think that arranged marriages are forced marriages, but these are two completely different types. Forced marriages, even the term, is where you force someone to get married. That's illegal, that's unethical in Islam and in society. But when it comes to arranged marriages, the parents are much more involved. They find a partner for you, they give you their contacts, and if you agree, you go ahead with that. But that doesn't mean that it's forced just because your parents are finding the partner for you.
Now that distinction matters, because not every arranged marriage is automatically forced. Some people are introduced by family, they agree, they build a life, and it works for them. I'm not here to disrespect everybody's culture, but the problem is people use the word arranged to clear up situations where somebody doesn't have a choice, because choice is the whole thing. Can she say no without being punished? Can he say no without being shamed? Can they walk away without the family feeling like they destroyed the bloodline? If the answer is no, then that's not a real choice. That's pressure dressed up as tradition.
It really do be your own African parents. So I made a video recently about how my parents were trying to pressure me into an arranged marriage right after nursing school, and I wasn't having it. Long story short, I talked about how I was grateful for being in America because this stuff still happens. So if you missed my live, I actually had brought up this girl and we talked about the situation. But for those of you who missed it, this is another girl who basically was pressured by her parents into getting into an arranged marriage, and it's so sad. But let's go ahead and read what she sent me. So she said, "Hey, I'm the person who asked you the question about how you feel about polygamy. The real reason I asked that question was because I found myself in a marriage where I am the 8th wife. And my husband lied to me and told me that I would be his only. Not only did he lie to me about his other wives, but he also lied to me about the amount of children he has. He told me he had 1, but in reality, he had 18. Y'all, this is a South Sudanese man, excuse me. Let me make sure I emphasize that because people got mad on my last post. This is so sad." And then she said, "I'm extremely unhappy and would just like some advice. For reference, I'm 20. I got married when I was 19 and her husband is 54. You guys, this is a baby here, a 19-year-old. Imagine. I was pressured into this marriage by my mother and other family members because the man is wealthy. Any advice you would have would be helpful. Thank you for taking your time to listen to my situation." So I had actually already responded to this, and then her and I talked about this on live. I also really wanted to share this with you guys because I wanted to spread light to the things that are still happening. Child marriage is still happening in South Sudan.
Now this is the dark side. This young woman was 19. Her husband was 54. She was pressured by her mother and her family because he was wealthy. And she later found out he had multiple wives and way more children than he let on. That's not a love story. That's a warning sign, because once money becomes the main reason, the woman can become the deal. And I know some people are gonna say, well, he can provide. Providing does matter. Security matters. Money matters. But money doesn't replace consent. Money doesn't replace attraction. Money doesn't replace peace. And if a family is willing to hand their daughter to a man because of money, even when she's unhappy, then we have to ask an uncomfortable question. Are they protecting her future? Or are they selling her sacrifice as stability?
I was shown a picture of a boy when I was only 14 years old. This was a boy I would have to marry. Me and my 2 sisters and brother were raised in a strict Punjabi household in northern England. My sisters and I were not allowed to be heard. We were just to be seen. If we didn't do as we were told, we were punished. Sometimes we got put in the cellar. My mom would close the light from the outside and the door would be locked. So when I was 14, a man came over to our shop. The man showed a picture of a boy to my mom, and she said, "This is a very good-looking boy. You are very lucky to have a chance to marry a boy like this. What do you think? Do you say yes?" If I had said no, I would have been slapped. And I said, "He's okay." A couple of weeks passed. We went over to my uncle's house, and prior to that, I was told that I would see the boy. The boy had come over from India. Over the years, I realized it was my engagement party. The wedding date came up. People were coming over. My family flew over from England. It seemed like the only person who wasn't happy was me.
Now she was shown a picture of the man she would marry when she was 14. That right there is wild. At 14, you should be thinking about school, friends, maybe having a boyfriend, hobbies, and who you're becoming. Not being told this is your future husband. And what's worse, she said if she would have said no, she would have been punished. So again, where's the choice? Because saying yes out of fear is not the same as agreeing. Saying yes because you've been trained to obey isn't the same as wanting it. Saying yes because your family will shame you isn't the same as love. That's not a marriage beginning. That's somebody losing control over their life.
That night, we were in the same apartment where the matchmaker's daughter lived, and my mom was still there. I hadn't actually done it with anybody because I knew like the right thing to do was to wait till your wedding. I had to be with a stranger on my wedding night. Who wants to be with a stranger on their wedding night when you don't have any feelings for the person? You barely know them, haven't really spoken to him that much, and now I have to be with him just because he's my husband. But again, I did what I was told, just like I did what I was told when I was 14. The next day, my mom asked, do you want to go on honeymoon anywhere? I chose Italy. Again, how can it be a honeymoon if your heart's not happy? You don't even know the person. People may think, oh, she's in the most beautiful place in the world. But like nobody really knows the story behind the picture. I told him when we got to the hotel room in Venice, there was actually 2 single beds, and I'm not sure why. I think they knew we were on a honeymoon, and if I had probably wanted to, or he had wanted to, we probably could have gone to the lobby and like explained that, yeah, we want, a double bed or something, but none of us did. Within 2 weeks, I think I told him that I wanted to be divorced from him. He was very upset and told me that I had to just allow more time for this. I think he called my family behind my back and just talked to my parents. Before I knew it, it was 6 weeks after the wedding, my dad came out to Denmark. He tried to talk me into staying with him. My husband took him to the bar. My husband came back alone. I could tell something was wrong. He turned on the music and I just had this horrible feeling. And then he approached me and told me, if I can't have you, no one else is going to have you either. Then he proceeded to strangle me and put his hands on my neck. I don't know how I even managed to do this, but I told him, I said, I'm so sorry that I've been a really bad wife to you. I'll do whatever you want. I'll be a good wife. And I told him I was sorry. He felt less angry, but he still proceeded to have his way with me. When he was done, he got dressed and told me he was going to get my dad, and that when my dad returned that I couldn't say anything about this to my dad. So I just nodded, and as I was left alone in that apartment, I felt so alone and so scared. My dad came on his own. I told him my husband just to me and he was strangling me. He said, he's your husband. He has every right to do that to you. But who gave him the right? They gave him the right. And so I knew instinctively that I had to get away from both of them. I was fearful again that they were following me, but I managed to get downstairs out onto the street and I got a taxi and I went to a friend's house, and this is how I escaped.
Now this part is heavy. She's describing getting married when she didn't want to, being with someone she barely knew, being trapped, later being hurt, and realizing she had to escape. And that's why I can't just laugh at the viral bride clip and keep it moving. Because yes, the internet turned it into jokes as they usually do. Yes, people roasted the groom. People talked about whether she was attracted to him, but underneath all that is a real question. What happens when a woman is expected to smile in a life she didn't choose? What happens when the family says this is what's best for you, but they never ask if it's what she wants? What happens when the community cares more about saving face than saving the person? That's the part people don't want to sit with.
Rihanna has reacted to the bride who looked upset when she saw her groom for the first time. Now Rihanna stepped in underneath a post about it and commented, "You are so wrong for this." When I saw her comment, I completely agreed. She's obviously saying that it's mean to judge someone for the way they look. These days, it seems people focus on looks more than ever, and nobody seems to be focusing on what's on the inside.
Now, Rihanna chimed in, and she said that people shouldn't go in on the groom's looks. And I get the heart of what she's saying. People can be cruel, and the internet can be mean as hell. But this whole beauty's on the inside, I'll call cap. Not because character doesn't matter. A healthy relationship usually survives because of what's on the inside. Respect, trust, kindness, loyalty, emotional safety, all that matters. But let's not act like looks don't matter in the world we live in, especially in the entertainment world, especially on social media, especially in the industry where beauty, image, fashion, body, face, and presentation are currency. People say beauty is on the inside when they've already picked someone they're attracted to. People say looks don't matter while swiping left and right based on looks. People say it is what's on the inside while praising celebrities for being fine, rich, stylish, and desirable. So yes, character matters, but attraction matters too. And when you're talking about marriage, especially an arranged marriage, you cannot pretend attraction is irrelevant, because if you didn't choose the person, you don't know them. You're not attracted to them, and you're expected to accept them just because the family said so. That's the problem.
So I'm getting married today. My parents found me an African husband and they insisted, even though I literally told them I don't want you to control me and I want to marry my own person at an older age. They do arranged marriages here, so they were just like, they found a nice guy. They said they'd be perfect for me. My parents were like, I don't know, she probably wouldn't go with it, but they decided they wanted to decide for me, so they bought me a wedding dress and everything. This is the wedding dress. We're all getting ready for the reception. So yeah, when I come back, I will be betrothed. So, unfortunately.
Now this clip says the quiet part out loud. She said her parents found her a husband, bought the dress, and she told her parents she didn't want them controlling her. That's the issue. At that point, the wedding is not the celebration. The wedding is the pressure. Everybody's smiling, everybody's dressed up, everybody's ready for pictures. But the person in the middle of this is dying inside. And when someone is literally breaking down while everybody else is smiling, we have to stop calling that tradition and start calling it what it is. That's control.
It doesn't matter how gorgeous a bride is, or her dress, or the wedding, when internally she's dying inside. Because this is the last thing that she wants to do. She's practically being dragged across the floor on her wedding day to complete the ceremony. Forced marriages, arranged marriages, child brides. It's always about the control and suffering of girls and women. Always.
That line right there is the whole video. It doesn't matter how beautiful the dress is. It doesn't matter how nice the wedding looks. It doesn't matter how proud the family is. If the bride doesn't want to be there, something is wrong. And yes, this can happen to men too. But let's be honest, a lot of these systems hit girls and women harder because their bodies, their futures, their education, their sexuality, and their freedom become tied to what their family wants. And when the family says you're bringing shame on us, that guilt can become powerful, because now a person isn't just choosing a marriage, they're choosing whether they still belong. That's a heavy burden. So here's my final verdict. Arranged marriage isn't automatically wrong. Some people do it with consent. Others are introduced by family and still have a real choice. But forced marriage, a pressure marriage, shame marriage, a money marriage, a marriage where one person clearly doesn't want to be there, that's not traditional in a way that I could defend. That's control with a ceremony. And with the viral bride, I can't say exactly what she felt. None of us can. But I can say this. The reason a lot of people reacted the same is because attraction, choice, and happiness look like it was missing. And when those three things are missing, people notice, because marriage shouldn't feel like a sentence. It shouldn't feel like a transaction. And if the only reason somebody is saying yes is because they're scared to say no, then that yes does not mean what people think it means. But that's just my opinion. What do y'all think? If someone told you you had to be in an arranged marriage, would you say, nah, I'm good? Or would you consider it if the person checked the right boxes? And be honest, does attraction matter in a marriage? Or are they lying when they say beauty is only on the inside? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy the content, hit that sub button to the right so you can stay locked in, and to the left, more dope content. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit the hype button, share this thing a time or two, and I'm out.
This that Raymundo Reacts, huh? Y'all came in for the laughs, huh? You did. Stay for the commentary, cause it makes sense, huh? Real talk.
That boy is good.